If you've been keeping up with car news lately, you would have noticed that Dodge announced the end of production on all their V8 muscle cars in 2024, and moving forward in 2025, beasts such as the Hellcats, the Red Eyes, and even the Dodge Demons will be replaced by these electric cars that Stellantis is calling the new generation of the Dodge Charger Daytona. Now that's especially disrespectful because the Daytona name itself comes from the iconic 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona that was known for being the first car at NASCAR to go over 200 miles per hour. However, lucky for us true Dodge fans, there's still somewhat of a loophole, I'd say, for you to buy the infamous engines such as the 5.7 Hemi, the 6.4 Scat Pack, and even the big boy supercharger engines, all the way up to a 7-liter supercharged V8 Hemi engine producing 1,500 horsepower for $60,000. That's exactly where Dodge's direct connection swoops in by providing you, the consumer, performance part that are brought to you exclusively through Dodge's power brokers that are elite dealers who are experts in performance. Also, only Dodge power brokers can connect you with their entire line of parts. Remember that for later. What Dodge is doing here is basically capitalizing on the last bit of money they can on the V8 options, since they know that these new electric cars aren't going to do well. Given the fact that it fails at both being a muscle car and a good EV car with a range of just 240 miles and a top speed of only 145 miles per hour. With this program though, they can still sell the engine crates and the parts you need on your existing vehicle and essentially charge you for the parts and the labor to install the parts, which in my opinion is as close to selling their V8s as they can without getting into trouble with the government and the rules and regulations. But just like everything else in life, I think this idea has its pros and cons, starting with the fact that this in theory is an amazing idea, letting true fans enjoy the cars and the engines that made them fall in love with your company in the first place anyways. On top of that, even warranting the parts, so if anything goes wrong, they are fully covered. Believe it or not, one of the major stresses of owning one of these cars is actually making sure to not void your warranty, as it's so easily voidable, so this is definitely a game changer for owners that plan to keep their cars for long term. The prices on the engines are somewhat reasonable as well. For example, the 5.7 liter Hemi engine producing 383 horsepower will cost you about $7,500 for the engine assembly, including the water pump, flywheel and clutch, front sump oil pan, intake manifold, and pretty much everything else you need to get the engine going. Plus about another $2,000 for the wiring needed. Now with that price in mind, could you find one cheaper in an auction? Sure. But this one is brand new with a factory warranty, making it more bang for your buck in my opinion. Of course, the engine itself isn't enough to get you what you need to get going, as you need a transmission attached that will be able to hold that power, and that transmission will cost you about another $4,500 for a manual one and about $5,300 for an automatic. So already for a brand new 5.7 liter Hemi engine, plus the transmission and everything else you need to get the car started, you're looking at around $16,000, and that's not even including the 40 hours of labor, which will be charged at around $250 to $300 an hour, adding about $12,000 to your cost, bringing the total charge to almost $30,000. We're talking about just the 5.7 liter Hemi here, and if you wanted to purchase say the Red Eye engine, it will cost you around $50,000. That's not including the car itself, which you would have to have as well. As you can see, the idea of it sounds really good until you start doing the math and realizing that since this program is only with specific dealers, as I mentioned earlier, meaning that they will of course be shady and add about another $20,000 to $30,000 in MSRP on those engines, since they know they can't find them anywhere else, adding major inflation to the price. Now if you have the money and love these cars but want a fully warranted vehicle, then this would be the perfect choice for you. But personally, I'd rather just buy a used Red Eye with low mileage and not have to deal with all of these extra steps.